Hi, Kathryn here with Circle Art Designs. Today we will be working on Project 4 from the January Bargain Bead Box. I have been wanting to do a corded knotted necklace for quite a while, so that is what we're going to do today. This will be an Aqua Quartz, which is a dyed quartz, and Sodalite knotted cord necklace. And if you notice, I have changed the picture out. My daughter said, "Oh, Mom, you just clipped that off of a video talk you had with one of your friends. And your hair wasn't done, and you didn't have on makeup." Well, I still don't have on much makeup, but it is a better picture than the last two I have put up. So we're going to try this one out for a while. All right, let's turn our eyes to the mat. So as I look down at my table, the first thing I see is this give thanks to the Lord. And I want to give thanks to the Lord for this beautiful Monday. I have been so happy to see the sun come out the last few days. Sunday was such a blessing for me. We had a wonderful, relaxing time in the afternoon, and worship was amazing during our worship service on Sunday, and it was really good to connect with family and friends. I just thank the Lord that I live in a country where I can go to church on Sunday and enjoy the beauty of my backyard. What do you have to be thankful for today? I know you won't see this on Monday, but that's when I'm being thankful. Here we go. So let's start off with the picture of the supply list. This supply is a good mixture of things from the Bargain Bead Box and from my own stash. I'm starting off at the very top with that beautiful blue cording. This is a 0.8 millimeter nylon knotted cord or knotting cord. And I got this off of Amazon in a large collection of colors, and I looked and it is still up. Then from the Bargain Bead Box, going down to the left, those beautiful blue beads are 8 millimeter Sodalite round beads, and this is from the January Bead Box. Going across from that are those gorgeous light blue. This is a 8 millimeter Aqua round from the January Bargain Bead Box, and it is a dyed quartz, but it is gorgeous. The color is consistent and beautiful throughout it. Going down from there, again from the January Bargain Bead Box, we have that 8 millimeter amber crackle glass beads, and they say this is a high quality crackle bead, and it is. Sorry, I was getting tongue-tied. And then across from that, from my own stash, are 8 millimeter rhinestone rondelle spacers. I got this off of Amazon. I also checked, and it's still up on Amazon. From a previous Bargain Bead Box, and I'm sorry, once I put them in my stash, I'm not sure which Bargain Bead Box they came from. I had some leftover shell pearls, these man-made shell pearls, and they are just gorgeous. And so I'm adding this to this knotted necklace. Going down from that, you will see the triangle Sodalite and brass pendant, also from the January Bargain Bead Box. And going around the corner are the 4 millimeter, they could be 5 millimeter, but I think they're 4 millimeter gold tone spacer beads. This is from my own stash, and I'm sorry, I don't remember where I picked them up at. I think it was Amazon, but I'm not sure. All right, it's time for us to get started. I know it's early in the video, but sometimes I forget. And so if you would take a moment and like this video and leave a comment, that would be awesome. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. and help us grow this channel. And sharing this video would get us out in front of other people. Thank you so much. Okay, I've almost finished cleaning this workspace off. I realized I had put everything where you could see it whenever I started recording, and I thought, I'm going to knock these beads all over everywhere when I start tying this cording here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to, besides center the camera again, so we're going to take this nylon knotting cord, and I'm going to take 3 arm lengths of this cord. And the way I do that is I take from my breastbone and I spread my arm out, and I do that 3 times, and then I cut it. I know it's a lot to work with, but we're going to be tying a lot of knots, and this necklace, at least the way I'm making it, is going to run about 30 inches with that 1-inch drop pendant. So I have gone out about 4 inches, or gone down about 4 inches. I've made a simple loop. I go across the cord under the loop, and then I'm going to very carefully pull this loop so it stays exactly where I want it till it makes this lovely little knot. This is not hard to do. I've seen people that do amazing knots, but I do not do macrame. This is an easy way to tie any bracelet or necklace. You can tie between each bead, and if it ever breaks, then you have it knotted, so you shouldn't lose more than 1 or 2 beads. All right, now once I get that knot in place, I'm going to start at the other end, and I have to start, at least for me, by burning the end of it, and I pull it across the cold of this glass so that it will spread it out. The first time I didn't pull it out fast enough, so I'm going to have to clip that off and do it again because I let it make that little knot at the bottom. So we're going to cut it and we're going to do it again, and there you go. So I have that nice long little strand. Now that strand isn't worth much except to get that thing through the hole so that you have a guide to pull it out. But it works for me, and I've seen people that can put little pieces of metal on the end of it and all of that, but I have never been very successful with that. So starting with the spacer ball in the gold, I'm going to bring this all the way down. This is going to be the end of my necklace. I'm going to make another one of those loops right up against that spacer ball. I'm going to get the end of the cord, and it's a little hard to work with in the beginning because there's a lot of it. Go across the cord, under and through the loop, and then pull it down, and I'm holding that loop right up against that bead. I'll take a little pin here in a minute. I'm going to put that pin right there where I want that loop to stay, and then I'm going to carefully pull very gently so I don't lose my loop. Once it gets to a certain place, it's a push-pull, and get back in the line, and you've got the knot, and now you're ready to start your spacing. So for spacing, it's really a personal preference. I'm using about a 2 to 2.5 inch spacing between the different components on this knotted necklace. Again, you make your loop. There's a twist of the loop. Then you go across the thread, go behind it, go through the back to the front. And I'm going to look and see where I want. Okay, that's about 2 inches maybe. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my pin where I want it, the spacing to be, and then I'm pulling it down, and then again it's a hold one side and push it toward your thumb so that it goes where you want the knot to go. This is all about making sure your knots end up where you want them to be. So for the first component, I'm starting out with that gold spacer ball. I'm going to put the little piece right through just like that. And then I am going to use the Sodalite. And I just love the color. That is so pretty. And then I'm using the yellow rhinestone rondelle spacer. Oh, dropped it. And then I'm putting on one of the amber crackle. All of these, remember, are 8mm. The problem is with this type, unlike other types I have used before, the little thread I'm using is real thin. I could have rubbed some glue on it and let it dry, and that would have stiffened it up a little bit, but I didn't want to do that. Then I put on another rondelle spacer in the yellow and the Sodalite round bead, and it just needs to be topped off with a gold. I want to cut that end off because it keeps giving me the lapovers. Or the limber neck, I guess is what I would call it. Kind of like roses. When they get the limber neck, it's so sad. Okay, so I've got that down. Again, it's the round spacer, the Sodalite, the rondelle, the crackle, the rondelle, the Sodalite, and then another spacer. Make that loop that you pinch over. Then you're going to cross it. You're going to go through the back and come up through the front. I'm holding that loop right up against that bead until I get it on the mat. Then I'm going to use my pin again, and I'm going to position that, trying to get it where you can see better. Position it right up against where I want that to end up at. And I'm going to start gently pulling while I'm holding that down. Once I get it positioned where I want it, see where it's right up against there, then I'm going to very carefully pull it down until I've got it right up against, and that makes the first component. I think that is a lovely color combination. I don't want it to be so tight that it puckers, but I personally like it to look like it's a single bead whenever it's hanging on the cording. All right, so again, I made the loop, going across the thread, coming from the back of the loop. I'm going to go through, going to pull all that out, holding it with my thumb. I'm checking spaces actually right now to make sure I have the same amount of space from the first one that I did. And then once I have that checked, I'll hold it down with my finger, get my pin, put it where I want it to be, and very carefully pull the loop. Now I have tension on the back. That's what I'm checking to make sure the tension is there. I have my hand resting on those beads so that it will stay, and then I pull. Otherwise, if you don't pull from tension, your knot is going to go all over the place. So now then, for the second component, we're going to start that one again with the gold spacer ball. And then these will be the Aqua Quartz will go on next. So let's see if I can hit that. I did. So we're going to do the Aqua Quartz next. And then for this component, I will be using the royal blue rhinestone rondelle spacers. I want to give a little darker blue to this component so that they blend into, they look cohesive. They look like they should belong together. So I'm checking to make sure all the little stones are in. That's one thing when you buy them all in a big lot like that, you do get some duds sometimes. Next we'll go on the shell pearl. I really love these. They are just beautiful. And I did see that they had shell pearls available on Amazon. I'm not sure if they still have them available on bead box bargain, the sister store to Bargain Bead Box, because like I said, this was several months ago when I got these, and they were just some that I had left over. So after I put on that royal blue and the shell, then I put on another royal blue rhinestone rondelle spacer, and then the Aqua Quartz and another of the small round spacer balls. And if you wondered what I was doing there, as my beads were up against that first knot, I was pulling them down to make sure that knot was really tight. All right, there we go. And so then we'll be ready once I get this down to go ahead and make another loop. Now this loop crosses over itself and makes just a regular loop. Then when you take the end coming out of the cross, there, see how I turned it and crossed it over? Then this time I'm just putting that, I made another little loop and put it through. I was tired of pulling it across so you could see that it really was going across the string. But either way, you want to work it however you feel comfortable doing it. I've got my pin in. I've got that loop exactly where I want it. I'm pulling one way and then pushing the other way. And there you have it. It's nice and tight. Now for this whole side, I will be repeating component 1 and component 2. The big part of this particular necklace is getting your spacing. So I will go ahead, I twisted and made my loop, making sure the spacing is correct. Then I'm going back over, making the little loop so that I can go behind. Oh, you know what? I didn't do that. I just did the end. But if you look, that is crossing over and then going under the back of the loop and right through the loop. It's just a very simple knot. And it looks beautiful. And if you are consistent with the way you are making this, it gives it a very beautiful, consistent look to these knots. My daughter, I probably told you this some other time whenever I've done these, but she does this on even thinner beading cord, and she makes 3 of these little knots all at once as part of her design, and it is lovely. But I said, yeah, that's more than I want to do, at least right now. So I thought I would go ahead and add a picture here of what our component 1 and 2 look like. If you will take note of the picture, component 1 starts with a 4mm spacer bead or ball. Then all the other beads are 8mm. You have an 8mm Sodalite round bead, followed by a yellow rhinestone rondelle spacer, a amber crackle glass bead, another yellow rhinestone rondelle, my brain went blank, then a sodalite round bead, and another spacer. And this makes up component 1. Then component 2, which you'll see over on the right hand of the picture, is composed of your 4mm gold spacer ball or bead, whatever you would like to call it. I interchange them. And an aqua quartz bead, then a royal blue rhinestone rondelle spacer, then a shell pearl. Any white bead would be beautiful here. But if you have any left over from a previous bargain bead box, this is a perfect place to use them. A royal blue rhinestone rondelle again, then your aqua quartz bead, and then another gold spacer ball. So we're going to go ahead and work our way to the center of your necklace. Make sure you measure often. For me, that meant 2 component 1s and 2 component 2s. And then I was at the center. And I will see back here in just a moment. So if you're at this point in the video, you should be in the center of your necklace. I chose to use a small bell, excuse me, a small gold bell for this. It's just plain. I didn't want anything to take away from the beads, the stones, or the pendant. Now for this next piece, I'm going to only do 1 inch between my component 1 that I just finished. I'm sorry, my component 2 that I just finished, and the center of the necklace. So that is about 1 inch. I'm doing the push-pull with my thumbs, holding one tight, pushing and pulling, and I have that inch. Now for the center of the necklace. So for the center of the necklace, I tried 2 different things, but they both start out with the round gold spacer ball. By now, my little tip is getting a little tired and it doesn't want to go into my bead, but we will persevere. Okay, so for this piece, I started out with the spacer ball and then the Sodalite round bead, just like that. Come on, you can do this. And you know what? I even have this little section sped up. And it's still as slow as molasses pouring on a cold morning. I tell you what. There you go. So I have the Sodalite on. Then I am pulling the yellow rhinestone rondelle. We're going to put that on. And then we're going to try my bell. Then I will go with another of the rhinestone rondelles. I keep moving my little pendant all over creation. So remember this, because it's component 1, we're using the yellow rhinestone rondelles. And then another Sodalite, and then we'll put on the gold spacer ball. Yeah, it says, I am just so unhappy with you right now. I said, I know, but I don't want to try burning another end and ruining this. But that's the way it is sometimes. And so then what you want to do is you want to hold that together and see how it lays. And I really liked this. This is the one I settled on because the way the rhinestones and the bell go together, it makes a little V, and that's going to make a perfect curve at the bottom of your necklace. So once I decided this was the one that I wanted, I tried it with the beads and no rondelles, and I tried it with just the rondelles, and I didn't like any of those. But once you get this on with that pretty little V, just a hint of a round, then go ahead and tie your knot, measure 1 inch, and tie your knot again. Now once you get to this point, it is just a matter of laying your necklace out flat and making sure that your knots line up. So I will see you at the other end. And if you're here, you should be at the end with those little stopper beads at the end. And we are ready to finish up our necklace. For this, we will need 2 clamshells. If you've never worked with a clamshell, they're really easy to do. They really look like little clamshells. The inside, you put the cording from the bottom up into the clamshell. And you're going to also need some number 2 crimps. I'm trying to get everything out of the way, and some jump rings for this. Now you say, well, why crimps? We're not using wire. Well, I actually use the crimps inside my clamshell. Sorry, I'm getting tired and my hands are shaking more than normal. So I use the number 2 crimps. I'm going to first start, I picked it up and then I thought, no, I don't want this rubbing right up against my my clamshell. So I'm putting on another spacer ball, and then I'm going to put this on. There's a teeny little hole. I'm sorry if you can't see it, but it's in the bottom, and you pull it up. Sometimes you have to open this thing up a little bit to make it's a kind of an oval. And when it closes like a taco, it makes it harder to hit the little hole. So sometimes I open it up and then, like just here, and then I have a bigger space to try to hit. And there you go. And that's a good trick to remember. Open it up and it will give you more space. Now here are the number 2 crimps. These are Bead-A-Long. They're my favorite. I've used others, but these seem to hold the best. My only problem with Bead-A-Long is I can only get the number 2s in a set of 0 to 3s, but I still love them. So I put on my crimp. Now I'm going to use round chain nose pliers. I'm going to grab that crimp and I'm just going to mash it flat. I'm pushing down with my pliers against that cord so that it fits snug. I mash it once, then I'm going to mash it again. Then I'm going to check it, make sure that it's closed. One of the things I really like to do when I'm using pliers, even whenever you do the yank test, is I go back in and I mash all the little spaces that are still open until that thing is really flat. Then I cut off my cord. And I'm using my flush cutters to do that because they just get in better than the scissors I have. And then I'm going to take the super glue. I'm going to put a little dab at the top where I just cut the cord. Then I'm going to put a little dab inside the clamshell, and I'm going to close that clamshell up. And this super glue is gel super glue. It gives you time to get your piece together and where it doesn't dry up in 10 seconds. And then using my curved chain nose pliers, I again close that up real well. And we're going to do it again just exactly the same way on the other side. Now I had a lot of cord left over with this one, which is okay because I put that cord in boy, I'm sorry, I'm shaking. Sometimes I forget and prop my hand up in the air, and I'm so used to shaking that I don't notice that I shake until I do these videos and I go, oops, sorry about that. But anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, bad me. Okay, so I will put that cord in a little baggie and I'll use it for something else, probably a bracelet, a knotted bracelet. But again, I have put on my spacer ball. Now I'm putting the cord through the bottom of the clamshell. I'm going to put on my number 2 crimp, and then I will go ahead and crimp it across with my chain nose pliers. The only time I use chain nose pliers, even round chain nose pliers, to do crimps is when I'm doing an illusion necklace, which I love to do, or whenever I am doing these corded pieces and I'm using the crimp in the clamshell. And clamshells for this type of work is my go-to. There are lots of different endings you can use, but I really like them. And so I keep a big stash of them all the time. I'm cutting off my excess, and I cut it since I know that this is, I did the pull test and I know it's really closed. I cut it right up against it with just the teeniest little bit right there. I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to make sure that it is mashed down on all the edges. There's no chance of this getting away. Again, I put a dollop. Doesn't that sound fun? That's a commercial, right? A dollop of the glue on the top and one on each side of the clamshell, and then I'm going to close it up. and let it dry. Now, the wonderful thing is about this is it doesn't take too long to dry, longer than the instant super glue, but then I can just go ahead once this is closed, because I know that crimp is secure, and I can go ahead and finish up this necklace, and then I'll let it dry overnight. So that's what I'm going to do. We have our ends done. I've cleaned off my space because it was getting disgusting. And I'm going to use 2 chain nose pliers. I'm going to twist with the wrist and open up one of those jump rings. I am going to put on the end of my necklace. Then I'm going to put on my lobster claw clasp, and then with the twist of the wrist, I'm going to close it back up, making sure with my finger that it was closed. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm not adding an extender on this because it's 30 inches. It's just going over my head. I probably won't ever use this clasp, but I'm putting it up in the shop and somebody else might use this clasp. I'm thinking of my daughter with her long hair. She wants a clasp on everything. She doesn't want to pull it over her ponytail. But once you get it on, then go ahead and put another jump ring on. Well, I did. I put 2 jump rings on this, and then it made it lay funny. And I went, what was I thinking? So I ended up taking off the second jump ring and just using the larger jump ring to be the closure for this lobster claw clasp. And that makes this part of the necklace finished. Now all we have to do is use that open jump ring and put on our pendant, that beautiful I'm sorry, y'all, I'm getting tired. That beautiful pendant, the Sodalite pendant, and with brass, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm putting it on. Thank you so much for joining me in this beading adventure today. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I hope you are blessed with an amazing adventure of your own. I will see you later in the week. God bless you all. I'll put pictures up at the back. Kathryn, circleartdesigns.square.site.